On paper, every build makes sense. There's a straight path from a steel corpse to a masterpiece. A masterpiece we obviously dreamed up unconstrained by money and time, but also things like physics and how metal works. We start with a shell and a pile of parts. By phase 2, you've usually made that shell worse, and you find out that you need more parts. And then you reach the most dangerous phase of your build. This phase is why at least 70% of all custom projects sit in piles across your garage and eventually end up on Facebook Marketplace, unrealized, waiting to snare the next sucker that wants to build something nobody's built before. We are stuck in that phase, and it's all my fault. And Zeph is going to save us, I think. When I walk out of my dungeon of editing, I'll see Zeph sitting on a stool, and he'll be staring for like 10 minutes straight. Then he'll like get up, walk over, touch a piece of metal, and he'll walk back to the stool and go right back to staring. You know the sound that an old computer hard drive makes when it's thinking really hard? I'm pretty sure that is what's going on inside of his head. Okay, so today I'm going to show you guys what scope creep looks like when you have too many I had an ideas, or we might as well, or what do you think about? Pretty much all of those questions are bad. Last we left off, we had no bed. Our goal with the bed was to somewhat stay true to an original FC 170 style bed, but make it much more functional and removable. Zeph was able to design the whole thing in CAD, and I think it turned out pretty well. Here's the thing though, nothing on this truck is straightforward. Okay, as you can see, there has actually been a lot of progress. We have a bed on the back. It is removable. The fenders have been made, which I think Zeph killed it on the fenders. These look really good, and they look really similar to like an original FC fender. We even borrowed a tailgate from an old FC that we put on here. That one's gonna need to get sanded down and reworked. It's falling apart in just about every seam, but we'll try to keep it as original as possible. Once we're done fitting everything, and all the suspension and all the welding and fabrication has been done and worked out, we're going to take this whole thing apart again, sand everything down, and we're not going to paint it. So we're going to chemically treat this raw steel to kind of age it to kind of look a little bit like this as well. And then we're going to seal it with a clear coat. So it's going to stay kind of with that, I'm going to call it a rat rod look, like an older patina. This bed is actually made to be pretty light. This is light walled square tube, basically mitered all together. Where we did add a decent amount of weight is on the sliders. If you see the sliders, they kick out pretty far. These are DOM, these are thick walled DOM, and are braced off of the frame. So this is trying to save when we get on this belly, try to kick it out past the fenders, protect the bed, and protect everything underneath. If you think quarter wall DOM is a little excessive, just realize we've been smashing all of our rock sliders lately, so we decided to solve it once and for all. Now you're gonna notice I'm walking around in here. There's no floor to the bed, and that's because there's a lot of stuff going on in here. We actually have the fuel tank right here, which we're trying to figure out right now if we're gonna actually use this one. We don't like inline fuel pumps because they fail a lot of times. I talked about it on Zeph's build with his red Jeep. We try to stick with reliable fuel pumps and ones that we can find at like regular places like O'Reilly's and things like that. If you ever watch the show Unreal Adventure, I swear every year somebody has problems with fuel pumps. But yeah, the fuel tank is here. On top of the fuel tank, we're gonna mount one of those Badlands 1.5 ton jacks with Outdoor Auto's very own jack mount. By the way, thank you guys for ordering so many of those. In fact, we don't even have a sponsor on today's video because you guys have helped us out by ordering stuff off of our merch store enough that we didn't need one for this video. Again, thank you guys so much for that. I think we have 3 of those jacks left. Anyhow, moving along from fuel tank, then we're gonna have the actual radiator mounted in here. Between the radiator and the fuel tank, because they kind of go at a V like this, we're actually gonna put in a suck down winch where the winch controls, you'll be able to control it from the cab. So if you're going down a really steep hill and you want that back to not bob and unload, you'll be able to suck it down. And we'll put a pulley where you'll also be able to run it out the back for recoveries. In front of that, we're going to, at an angle, mount a full-size spare tire so that you'll probably just barely see sticking out of the back here at about this height. There'll be no floor till about here. So right here on the inside, about halfway up here, there'll be a platform, and that is where you can put your cooler and your camping stuff and random things like that. And then below that, of course, you got your transmission, transfer case. We're actually gonna have the exhaust come out the side right here. So we'll have to cut a hole here. So it'll have the side dump exhaust. Oh, and then of course, we have our toolboxes that we built into the side. So one of these is gonna have tools. The other one's probably gonna have recovery gear. So yeah, it's definitely coming together. I'm curious what you guys think of the look of the bed and whether you think we nailed it close enough on trying to stay like original and true to like the spirit of what one of these FCs looks like, while, you know, trying to make it be, you know, one of the most capable off-road FCs that have ever been made. So yeah, let us know in the comments what you think. Now, this episode is about me overcomplicating things. So what I decided to do once we had this is all tack welded, by the way, that's why it makes this awful noise. I was looking at it the other day and I was like, I really want to bead roll these panels. Bead rolling adds a lot of character to a panel. It also makes them stronger and stiffer, and it makes them not flap around as much. So I wanted to bead roll, you know, some designs into this to kind of strengthen it and add a little character. We don't actually have a bead roller, and I have no experience bead rolling, but how it is, I delayed finishing off the bed and I ordered a bead roller. It's supposed to be here next week. So apparently I am learning how to bead roll next week. And I plan on trying to put some designs in here. I can't keep delaying this thing forever. So hopefully that isn't that hard. If you guys have experience bead rolling and you have any advice, let me know. I'm gonna need all the help I can get. I know before we had some red labels on here. We wanted to try out a set of DOT tires because we really are trying to build this thing to be really reliable and be able to go on trips like an Unreal Adventure, for example, which, by the way, I think their new series is coming out this week or next week. We always like watching that show. It's just a cool group of dudes that know how to build cool stuff. But yeah, so we tried this out. We got a set of the new 42-inch Moab Edition BFG KM3s. We actually took them to Sand Hollow. You can watch that on the episode where we broke these in. That is a wall. I think you have to be all the way back and just floor it. The other thing is you got to get the tires lined up on the bridges.
Yeah. That was that yellow dude from.
Once we got back, we switched them over to here. You're gonna notice they have a 17-inch actual true bead lock, which is what I think we're actually gonna go with on this, is a 17-inch bead lock. And this is the Vision ones. I'm actually a big fan of this set of wheels because it's one of the cheapest set of bead locks you can buy. I think they're about 1,200 bucks for all four. That's really good for bead locks. Bead locks are really expensive. This isn't my favorite style of one because for the FC, we definitely kind of wanted to go hunt down something that kind of looked retro, but we're really struggling to find any bead locks that look kind of old school, I guess. I don't know how to say it better. So we have these on here right now. We did get a set of these, I can show you. Method bead locks. I feel like these look more retro than the Visions do. The other thing that's cool about these is they do have the true bead lock on the front with the ring. And then they have the bead grip on the back side. So these you could go to pretty low PSI and not worry, obviously, about losing a bead. I really like the look of the methods, but it is interesting when you're comparing these two, because those methods cost about twice as much as those Visions. I think they're awesome. I don't know if they're twice the value, but you know, budget is always subjective, so that always comes down to you guys. But yeah, we've been experimenting with both of these. We're gonna be taking them out, testing them. We have a third set of bead locks on Zeph's truck right now. So been doing some bead lock testing. Maybe in the future we'll be able to get an episode out about that. Anyhow, what do you guys think of the different setup on tires? I like this better than the 20s on an old school truck. I just feel like the smaller wheel size you can get, the more it looks true to how they used to be. Yeah, let us know. Okay, you're probably gonna notice that this thing's kind of squatty, like lowrider right now, and that is because we have all the springs pulled out that we use on our setup shocks. The reason that we have those pulled out is because we were testing some travel and suspension, and I'll show you why we were doing that. So the cab on this thing, it's coming along. Obviously, we have it all filled in. There's actually a new floor in here. You know, we've got our steering wheel, we have our pedals. You know, when this thing was completely empty, Zeph literally told me, he's like, one of the most intimidating things was like, how am I going to get pedals, brakes, steering, everything in here? Because there was nothing. So, you know, started off with the roll cage to give us something to mount off of. Connected it down here. This is gonna be braced off of stuff that comes up below. So the whole roll cage and everything has come a long way. We actually have our pedals in here now. We have our cantilever brake system in here now. So steering was really the final frontier. And steering should have been super easy because we have a double-ended PSC ram down here. You know, you've all seen these before. So it should have just been full hydro steering, which means all we would have had to do is mount a little orbitable valve right up in here, no big deal, run hoses down to the PSC ram, steering would have been complete. We ran into a tiny problem on that because we got this crazy idea. We want to do full hydro assist. Nobody really does that. There's one guy that does it. It's a guy named Chris Bowman, and he had a nickname back in the day, Bowman the Showman. He was on Top Truck Challenge a bunch of times. He knows how to build trucks. He's a very talented guy. And he runs full hydro assist, which basically, when I talk to normal people about it, they just go, no, that's impossible. You can't do that. But you obviously can, because he runs it on the truck that we go off-roading with him, and he runs it very successfully. The idea behind full hydro assist is to have that same PSC ram and then still have a mechanical connection to it. So you're going to have normal feedback in your wheel where you can feel the road. The biggest other upside is if this thing's gonna go and do like highway speeds, I keep bringing up Unreal Adventure. That's because like the whole point in our mind of like building cool trucks is more about the community than anything else. So when you see a group of people that builds really cool trucks and are really low key and humble and rad, you just go, I want to hang out with those guys someday. So we are building this thing on purpose to try to enter it in Unreal Adventure next year. And one of the things that we wanted to do is if you're going to do a lot of highway miles, because they do a lot of highway miles in between rock crawling, full hydro on the highway feels a little crazy. A lot of people don't like it because you know your steering wheel just doesn't have any feedback. You don't feel any connection to it. It's just a little different than normal driving. So if we do full hydro assist, we have to maintain the mechanical connection. Okay, so it's a little insane to try to accomplish this, especially in a vehicle like this. There's no room for all your traditional like steering linkage. Like this thing had a straight up and down steering wheel like a school bus, and we're converting it to like a very traditional style steering wheel. So let me show you what we did here. You've got your normal steering wheel angle. We're waiting on a new end right here, and then this will hook up here. It's gonna go from here down to here, It's got another angle. This helps support it. Then it goes through the floor. This is from a mowing deck, from a lawnmower that does a 90-degree angle and turns your whole shaft, essentially your steering shaft, at a 90-degree angle. It takes it here, and then it goes from here straight into the steering box. This is an oversized JK box that is you've got your ports already in it. It's for running your hydro steering. And then we had to mount that into the frame. We actually drilled all the way through the frame and welded in Dom. And when I say we, that was one of those brilliant things that Zeph did. That's why he was sitting there leaning against that, staring for hours, was him trying to figure out how he was gonna run this. So that's all mounted. It does in fact work. It comes down to your pitman arm. So we have mechanical steering. And then once we hook it up to the PSC, we will have full hydro assist. I think this is gonna be hotly debated. And what's gonna happen is it's just gonna be a test. We're just gonna have to build it. We're gonna have to take it out there. We're gonna have to try it out and see how it does. And some people, okay, a lot of people, okay, almost everybody I've run this idea past says that it's impossible. And essentially it's impossible because certain things have to feel resistance before they'll kick in and work and blah, 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 blah. But the reality is we've seen it work, and we've seen it work really well. And we're gonna work with the guy that made it work really well. And we think it will be a big advantage. So all of a sudden we can have a rock crawler that could be on 42s or bigger tires, and driving down the freeway, we'll have a mechanical connection to our steering that will make us feel sturdy and stable. And then when we're rock crawling, we'll have all the advantages of a double-sided PSC ram to turn these giant tires in the rocks. This might not, this totally might not work, but we'll see. Okay, so the other area where I'm causing a few delays is suspension. We've put a lot of thought into the suspension on this thing because it has such a crazy shape to it that stability is the most important thing. When you're on a CabOver, where you're driving from and everything, it's gonna feel really sketchy. So we wanted very, very stable suspension. Our idea was to go with the ORI struts because they don't have such a big unloading problem as much as coilovers do. We do use coilovers to stage everything while we're just testing everything out. But pretty soon here, we were supposed to be putting in these struts to actually accommodate those struts. We actually had to modify the frame down here. So we had to carve it out and around down here to be able to allow a larger strut to go through. We wanted the shock outboard of the frame. So everything was, I'm gonna say, hunky-dory and basically ready to move forward. And then, of course, I did something dumb. This is ORI's latest strut. This is their Gen 3 strut that's racing on like Ultra 4 trucks and then also on rock bouncers. It has all the benefits of this, as well as a ton more adjustability. It can handle heavier trucks because we're not positive what the final weight on this is gonna be. To try to make a CabOver, a rock crawler that can crawl some of the hardest trails in the world, is not really the smartest idea. That's why we call this project Bad Idea. So we're trying to give it every chance at success that we possibly can. Those struts are going to be awesome. The problem is, if you see how big they are, these are not going to fit back here. So we're going to have a problem where we're going to have to re-modify either the frame, or we're going to have to modify the side of the bed, which are two things that were supposed to basically be done at this point. Okay guys, we're gonna keep you up to date on all the future updates on this build. They'll be right here on the channel. Next year, this thing is going on the road a whole bunch. So if you're going to King of Hammers or Easter Jeep Safari or Trail Hero or Gambler 500, a lot of those types of events, we should be out there with this and some of the other vehicles. We'd love to see you on the road. If you see us, come say hey. Thank you guys for supporting us and buying some of the brand new sweaters that just came out and everything. That helps us not have to put ads on some of these videos, and we really appreciate that. If you guys are interested in seeing this on Unreal Adventure, drop a comment and tag Unreal Adventure in the comment. The only way they know what people want to see is if people let them know. So we'd appreciate any support on that. Obviously, we first kind of actually got to build a good car that's deserving. So we'll go to work on that, and maybe I'll stop, adding things to it. Anyhow, see you guys next week. Until then, have a good one.